Ki te kore te motu, e aro ki te ture me te whakatīnanatanga o ngā uati o te tiriti o Waitangi. Ka mahue mai ko te wanga me te whakakōripo o te hinengaro o te Māori. Ka whakaaro ētahi, kei te kurukuru ngea te Māori, e te korauna.
E hia ana koe kia tū te tiriti hei kaupapa ture ara hei constitution mā tātou?
Tērā pia, engari, ka wareware tātou ki te whakapapa o te tiriti mēnā ka haere pēnā.
If we focused on that and lived our lives off the treaty, it would bring problems.
I prefer that we sort out our own personal things before we move on to something big like that.
That's tricky. Possibly not. No. I think that breaks too much tradition.
Ko ngā tika I raro I te ture o te motu, me te wakatīnanatanga o te tiriti te kaupapa kōrero. He titiro a Māori nei uki ki tēnei kaupapa.
When I think about political rights and constitutional rights as Māori, I think that we could have a framework, or I have a framework to consider some of those rights. And I think that our rights have various sources. One source of those rights is our whakapapa. Our whakapapa gives us certain political rights and constitutional rights. Why do I say that? Because as we know, or as we should know, as we can know, in common law, the common law recognises something called Aboriginal title or native title. It's not the source of the Aboriginal title or the native title, but it recognises the native title. And it recognises that our proprietary rights, these rights to the foreshore and seabed that we'll continue to uphold and exercise, are actually born out of our customs and our traditions. And our rights as Māori or as Aboriginal peoples, Indigenous peoples of Aotearoa, New Zealand, in the main, have never been recognised by the Crown. But those are the very rights that I believe need to be enshrined within a constitutional framework for our country. Our rights, not necessarily as treaty partners, but our rights as Māori people. Our rights as Aboriginal peoples, as Indigenous peoples, Native peoples, call it what you want. But nā tō tātou whakapapa, mai te wā I hi te ika nei, tai no ki a tātou ngā mangu taipo e noho nei, tō tātou me ki, o tātou tikanga me o tātou ritanga. So our customs give rise to some rights and political rights. And what does that mean? That means that we have a responsibility to investigate what those rights actually entail. And part of our wānanga, and I'm not talking about the institutional Raukawa Awa Nui Arangi or Aotearoa wānanga, but part of our own whānau wānanga and hapu wānanga and iwi wānanga, have to really assess in a robust way what those rights and what those responsibilities actually mean to us.
I think it is appropriate that we gather here to look at how we, as tangata whenua in the first place, as a partner to the treaty in the second place, can make sure that any development from this time on has us at first base, not added in later on. I'm not here for a political speech, but you know and I know, all our culture has been put down there. Every time you want to build a kura, he pakanga. Every time you want to do anything for your people, he pakanga. Why is that? Aren't we the tangata whenua of this place? And that's why it is so appropriate that here we are having a hui before the Pākehā calls us to his hui to see where we fit. There were two treaty partners, but in all the legislation, there is only one. And that's the Westminster one. Ko tō tātou paremata, he paremata Pākehā no Westminster ke tēnā. Ko ngā ture ka puta, ko ngā hua o taua paremata. He hato tātou paremata, ko tēnei, ko te marae, me te whakawhiti kōrero. Me te manaaki, I te runga rawa. Ārangi nui rawa ko papatua nuku huki. Tēnei tō tātou paremata. Ākua he hāta take, haere ki te marae hui ai. Whakawhiti kōrero, whakatauri. Oti tēnā. E rangi, kāre tēnei kaupapa kai roti te whare paremata. Nā reira kua tai ki te wā, kia hiki, kia whakamana ai, te taha Māori I roti Aotearoa nei.
Is it realistic in Māori terms? Yes, it is. Will Pākehā people regard it as realistic? No, they won't. But what is on our side and our reality is that the treaty guarantees that we will preserve and maintain our tino rangatiratanga, which in the end is an ability to govern, to have our own law and our own tikanga, and time will actually deliver that justice to us again.
Ko te au waka mua I ngā kōrero mo te Constitution tētahi o ngā kaupapa nui a tā epi. E kaupapa e taunaki ia tonu ia ana e ana uri o ngā titu aretoa.
Good beginning. I'm encouraged by it. I think constitutional stuff is important to us to understand it and then put our own view and set it beside the knowledge base, the experience base, and those ones working on the home front.
So you think Māori should have a specific place within any constitutional arrangements?
I think the country is dead if we're not there. Quite frankly, and sadly so will we be.
Let's not be afraid of the Constitution. The Constitution is really a mahere. It's a map that has points on it that says at this particular point you will do this, that and the other. Now you asked, should we be on it? We not only should be on it, we should be part of how it is constituted, how it is made up. Because if we are not, then it really isn't a constitution about us. And in this country, you know, where wherever you walk, your tapuai is, you know, is part of you. Then you know, that's how important a thing like a constitution is. But what kind of, I suppose, the concern that I particularly have when people start talking about constitution is, what they really mean? Do they really mean they want to have a constitution? Or do they really mean they want to actually, you know, whakamahi is something that suits their own purposes? At the moment, there are things within the present constitution that I'm actually delighted with. Why? Because they are now enable me to play part as a citizen of this country. All right? There are other things in there that I would like to have a discussion about, and that's to inform debate about different issues that have come into the thing. If that's what this does, then hey, I've got no problem with it at all. But let's be very clear in our minds about what we mean when we say the Constitution, and what we mean in terms of an outcome of a constitution perceived.